If you get into the perception of time to such a depth, then your focus, attention, goes into the future and it goes into the past, when this is the only moment where you can change anything. So your ability to change this is being diluted by your attention being focused into places that will never change because they don't exist. So the time illusion, one of the great ways that we disconnect this level of self from the greater self is in the greater self there is no time. And a sense of time and a sense of no time are completely different frequencies, and therefore you can't connect with it in the same way. What we call time is a left brain sequencing. I said earlier that quote about in a quantum universe, there's only possibility being pulled out through perception into experience reality. Well, when you are, if you like, making things happen and experiencing things, decoding things into a reality we're experiencing, we're pulling possibilities out of endless possibility. And these different sequences are all happening, they're not sequences, they're all possibilities in the same now. What the left side of the brain does is it pulls these possibilities out from the infinite now and it puts them in a sequence. And so we experience as one thing following another, and that's what we call time. And the quicker the left brain makes that sequence happen, the quicker time seems to be passing, and vice versa. So this is what Einstein said about time. When you're courting a nice girl, an hour seems like a second. When you sit in a red-hot cinder, a second seems like an hour. That's relativity. Relativity is the way that your left side of your brain puts possibilities in the now into a sequence. And so when you're you don't like a dentist and you sit in a dentist chair, it seems to last forever. Whereas if you're doing something you like, my God, the time flies. Oh, well, when you're having fun, eh? Just the way we decode reality, time does not exist. Here we go. Time does not exist. Clocks exist. Exactly. Time is just an agreed upon construct. We have taken distance, one rotation of the Earth and one orbit of the Sun, divided it up into segments, then given those segments labels. While it has its uses, we have been programmed to live our lives by this construct, as if it were real. We have confused our shared construct with something that is tangible, and thus we have become a slave to time. Got to go, is that the time? And look at it. It's so crazy that there's a line that doesn't exist in the ocean, and if you cross it that way, you go into yesterday, and if you cross it this way, you go into tomorrow. And it's not even bloody straight, look. You know, I want to be in yesterday. Yeah, I thought so. This is a recent news story. Prisoners of the mind. Prisoners could serve 1,000-year sentences in 8 hours. Future biotechnology can be used to trick the prisoner's mind into thinking they have served a 1,000-year sentence. A group of scientists have claimed, tricked it into decoding that sense of reality. This is how the program works. As William Blake said, you can hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour because there is no time. At a university in London, they've now established that when great sportsmen, like tennis players well, in this case, baseball players, when they're standing there waiting to hit something that's going to come at them real bloody fast, their mind goes into a state that decodes time. Here we go. It decodes time in a different way. So I went to Wimbledon once, I've only been once, and I watched Martina Navratilova play years ago for about 20 minutes. I was working there for so long. And I sat there and I thought, they're not hitting that. They're not hitting that ball. I must be imagining it. When you get to the Murrays and people like that, the speed the ball crosses the net, not only do they hit it, they decide where it's going to bloody go. We can do that, but they can because their practice puts them into another way of encoding time. It's an illusion. They say about footballers, great footballers, they seem to have more time than anyone else. Yes! Because they decode time in a different way than everyone else. And as it plays out in the hologram, it appears as they have more time. They do. Because there is none. Now people like Leonardo da Vinci, 1452 to 1519, and Giordano Bruno, 1548 to 1600. These people are said to be ahead of their time. I mean, the things that Da Vinci was doing were unbelievable. He was inventing things 500 years ago that only in more recent times have been shown to actually be true and work. And people say he was ahead of his time. He's 500 years ahead of his time. No, they weren't. They weren't. They weren't ahead of their time. They were beyond time. They go to this. They go to this place. That's where they get their inspiration from. That's where they get their understanding and information from, and their insight, and they bring it through here. He's ahead of his time. Time only exists here, darling. He's out of time. That's how they do it. That's how this great genius inspiration comes from. Space illusion. Well, obviously, space is an illusion, because space only exists when we decode it. Communicating instantly, billions of miles apart. Scientists say, I don't understand how particles can communicate billions of miles apart. They're not billions of miles apart. They're the same. They're the same as the ocean is the same. They communicate at the same time because they are the same. Only in a particle form they appear to be different, as in the body form we appear to be different. Giordano Bruno, there is no top or bottom, no absolute positioning in space. There are only positions that are relative to the others. There is an incessant change in the relative positions throughout the universe, and the observer is always at the center. You know, hundreds and hundreds of years and thousands of years have gone as we perceive time, and the same universal wisdom, knowledge, has been forthcoming and dismissed.